among the many threads that we have been pulling on at the Nerve is what's going on over in Saudi Arabia with all of these comics, these American comics who are playing Chop Chop Square, which is what they call the town square in Saudi Arabia, where every Friday night, what people do to blow off steam at the end of a week and usher in a weekend is go watch people get beheaded or have their hands chopped off because they shoplifted something or were caught in the company of a man who was not their husband, or whatever. Do they still do it? They say they don't, but there's not a lot of international news. There's not a lot of international boots on the ground coming out of there. But who we've got over there? Comedians. We covered Tim Dillon. He's done and dusted. I'm not even going to give him the headline or the oxygen. So we've had a new development. Okay, new development now. The disgraced comic Louis C.K. Now, it's been a while since he was canceled. And don't forget this aspect of why he got Me Too'd. The massaged, sanded down version that you're being told today is that it was really an overreaction because all Louis did was masturbate in front of some female comics. And this was not a one-time thing. He did it over and over again throughout the years. But anyway, it's treated as a quirk, right? He's got this quirk. Nobody got hurt. He just jerked off to completion in front of some women. Now, he would do this. He would get women alone in a room. So it would be one woman alone in a room with him, and the women would feel as though they could not leave. And, that's pretty much as far as they would go. But basically, Louis, it sounds like, my estimation, just my opinion, that he trapped them in these rooms and got his kick out of violating them by making them watch him masturbate to completion, which means he's doing it in front of them. So he's basically saying, I'm picturing myself having sex with you. And this may be something you don't want. In fact, I know it's something you don't want because I'm pretty much keeping you locked in this room till I'm done. Just my opinion. And then I'll let you out once I've completely violated and humiliated you. So Louis is trying to make a comeback, and it's not going well. Okay, it's not going well. So who hosted him in giving him this little boost up in the culture to try to recover his career? None other than Bill Maher. Last seen violating Barbara Eden by telling her what OnlyFans was and that she should join it. Use the word masturbating in front of, birds of a feather. Birds of a feather. Okay, anyway, Louis was using this lengthy one-on-one interview. It lasted for like 13 to 15 minutes. So that's like a good third of Bill's show. He used this spot to defend himself for taking the invitation to perform at Chop Chop Square. Now, this is a comedy festival that Louis, back when he was on his high horse with his prestige FX show, and everybody was saying he was the second coming intellectually of Woody Allen, he was too good for it. And he could take the moral high ground. It's not the moral high ground, by the way. It's the only ground. It's the only ground. Don't go and take the blood money from Saudi Arabia. But now he's changed his mind. Wonder why. Okay, let's watch and listen as Louis attempts to explain himself with an assist from Bill.
I still think people who are doing it are brave, and it's apparently the ones over there are enjoying it.
Yes, they're all. What I'm talking about, the comedians that have been there, and they've been really surprised by what's going on. There is a woman who's a lesbian and Jewish who did a show there, and she got a standing ovation. And so there's stuff going on that's unexpected in this thing. And people have been playing Saudi Arabia for years. Like, comedians have been going.
Doesn't make it right, Louis.
Countries. There was a film festival there recently. Like, it's kind of opened up.
Okay.
But I've always said no to Arab countries doing shows. I do shows everywhere. Like this show, I'm playing in India. I'm playing in Turkey. I'm playing in Bangkok, Hong Kong, all over the world this year.
You can't get booked in America.
And when this came up, they said there's only two restrictions. It's their religion and their government. And I don't have jokes about those two things.
Oh, their religion and their government. Those are the only two things you can't talk about. Listen, any comedian worth their salt. George Carlin, may I? That's the only shit you want to talk about. Okay? That's the important stuff, Louis. Just their religion and just their government. Saying this to Bill Maher, who, for all of his fucked up issues with women, has repeatedly made fun of Islamic fundamentalism and the way they treat women and the way they make women hide in what Bill calls the beekeeper outfits. And not for nothing, but Bill is one of the few and only to repeatedly book Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who has a lot to say about Islamic fundamentalism and what it does to women. She herself, a victim of child female genital mutilation. So fuck off. Fuck off, Louis. And we're not done with you. We're going to see you on the mini as well. Okay, we're going to see you on the mini with some of your other offenders. Now on to Dave Chappelle. And as I have said before, this one is a heartbreaker for me because I used to love Dave and I can't anymore. I just cannot. He performed at the Riyadh Comedy Festival smoking a cigarette, which now this is what they allow the rest of us, the Westerners, to know. If you were caught smoking a cigarette in public, which I mean, just about anywhere in Saudi Arabia, you will get fined over $1,300, more than $1,300 in US currency. And then if you're caught a second time, it doubles and then it triples. And I do not believe for a minute that they don't wind up chopping off fingers or hands for this, okay? Because they're like surgeons over in Saudi Arabia. They love to cut, okay? So here's what Dave had to say about his choice to perform there. I am quoting from a Daily Mail report by Stephen M. Lepore. It is dated October 3rd, 2025. Dave Chappelle said he has more, quote, free speech in Saudi Arabia than the United States. The United States, his homeland, where we made him a very, very wealthy man. And he got wealthy, you know why? Because we have the first fucking amendment. And we're like, you can say whatever the fuck you want. But no, he's got more free speech over in Saudi Arabia, where Louis C.K. just told us he can't make jokes about their religion or their government. So Dave, that makes no fucking sense. Don't insult our intelligence. And then Dave insulted the memory of Charlie Kirk, whose body, I'm sorry, isn't even cold yet. Okay, Dave's quote, "It's easier to talk here than it is in America." I'll never put another penny in Dave's pocket again. I won't fucking do it. These comics had to sign contracts stating that they would not make jokes about Saudi Arabia's government or the state religion of Islam. They had to sign a fucking contract. It wasn't even good faith. Further, Dave converted to Islam when he was 17, so maybe he really has no problem with more than we are even aware. Maybe he's really not the guy we all thought he was. This is such a heartbreak. It really is. Even I'm capable. I'm as cynical as it gets. I've seen a lot, but like this is like really disappointing. As I've said before, I think the best comedians double as real public intellectuals. They come at things sideways. They see things in ways the rest of us just don't. And this is just deplorable. Now, from the DM report, Dave Chappelle. So the DM report aggregated some of the best social media responses to this bullshit. Here we go. Dave Chappelle, who went to Africa to avoid his show. Remember Chappelle's show over on Comedy Central. And everybody said, oh, Dave had a breakdown. Who would walk away from a show where he's making millions of dollars and he's super famous and everybody loves the guy and he can do whatever he wants. He has carte blanche over there. So remember, Dave Chappelle went to Africa to avoid his show from becoming a soulless grab and to just become a heartless millionaire. And that Dave Chappelle and this Dave Chappelle now are not the same guys. Agreed. Others dared to take for him. Others dared Dave. Excuse me. I'm so worked up. I got to calm down. Others dared Dave to take on the likes of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for the brutal, planned, targeted, luring of, and subsequent murder in 2018 of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Another quote, Dave Chappelle, another critic, Armand Damaluski, should try telling a joke about MBS bone sawing a journalist and report back as to how that goes. One reporter said Saudi law makes it illegal to challenge, either directly or indirectly, the religion or justice of the king or crown prince. Then Chappelle also said this: right now in America, they say that if you talk about Charlie Kirk, you'll get canceled. Not so. Stop it. Just fucking stop it. Stop it. Charlie Kirk got shot because he enjoyed the First Amendment and engaged in reasonable, respectful discourse and actively sought out people who disagreed with him, and not to shame them and not to make them feel lesser than or less intelligent, but to have a reasoned coming together of minds and to see if we could get to a common ground. And he got shot in the fucking throat for it. So shut the fuck up, Dave Chappelle. Fucking bullshit. Now, before we get to our last, and I think the worst, and I just gave you I gave Dave Chappelle a really good fucking spanking. I think this guy's even worse than Dave Chappelle. I think he's our most disgusting offender here. Listen to a comedy podcaster named Johnny Mac read from a statement by one of the few comics who is talking actual sense here. This is David Cross.
I've been asked for my opinion on the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and rather than answer the same question 23 times, I'll just put this out there. Oh, and I should preface this with the fact that I was not offered the gig, but it should go without saying that there's not enough money for me to help these depraved, awful people put a fun face on their crimes against humanity. Here goes. What do you think? I am disgusted and deeply disappointed in this whole gross thing. The people I admire with unarguable talent would condone this totalitarian fiefdom for what? A fourth house, a boat, more sneakers? We can never again take seriously anything these comedians complain about unless it's complaining that we don't support enough torture and mass executions of journalists and LGBTQ peace activists here in the States, or that we don't terrorize enough Americans by flying planes into our buildings. I mean, that's it. You have a funny bit about how you don't like Yankee candles or airport lounges? Okay, great, but you're cool with murder and or the public caning of women who were raped and by having the audacity to be raped or guilty of engaging in adultery. Got any bits on that?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, to our final offender, Pete Davidson. Pete is a native New Yorker. He was raised on Staten Island. His father, Scott Matthew Davidson, was a New York City firefighter who died in September 11th. To hear Pete talk of it, because he does quite a bit, this is the defining trauma of his life. How could it not be? Here's Pete telling Theo Vaughn, I believe this interview just aired this week, about the sentimental items he has from his father. And listen to him carefully here, because what he's really saying, without fully coming out and saying it, is that his father's remains were either unrecognizable or blown into dust.
Did you have some nice mementos of his?
I have his wedding ring that I wear all the time, and I have his. It's actually super fucked up, but I have his badge, like his chain, his badge, and they found that's how they, because everybody was pretty burnt up. Yeah. So that's how they knew it was him. Mm. And I have it, and I just keep it in a safe because, like, with my luck, I'll lose that shit. But I have like a couple of those things, and I have his like jacket and like other set of pants, and I put him like on the wall. I like framed him. Oh. But then I took him down though, because like sometimes I'll be feeling good, and then I'll see that, and I'll be like, oh,
yeah.
Now here's what Pete said in that same interview about taking blood money from a government. Remember, 15 of the terrorists who executed 9/11 were Saudi terrorists. Never forget that. Here's Pete on why he feels really comfortable taking blood money from a nation and a government that killed his father, who was trying to save the lives of innocents that day. A lot of those firefighters, they came in from all over New York and all over the tri-state area. They weren't even on duty. It wasn't even their remit. They came in knowing they would go up those stairs and probably never get out. Go ahead, Pete. Tell us why you're doing it.
I've heard there's subreddits. I just, I get the routing and then I see the number and I go, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, and also.
Theo Vaughn laughs at this.
you know, there's part of me that's just like, you know, I've been getting a little bit of flack just because like my
Okay,
dad
that's it.
died
A little bit of
9/11.
flack. All right, let's give you some flack, Pete. You should get a fuck ton of flack. You should have gotten so much flack that, you know, you just said, you know what? There are some things you can't put a price on. Some things you can't put a price on. You know, so there's nothing else I can say to this. There's nothing else I can say to this except to show the footage of the wreckage of the World Trade Center, that the second tower falling and the wreckage of the World Trade Center. And, you know, not for nothing, but there are a ton of first responders and not just like firefighters and police officers. I mean, regular civilians who dropped everything and went to help and who dug on that pile. In New York, we called it the pile. Dug through that pile for months to try to find human remains, which are to this day still being identified, and who now struggle with health issues. And I haven't heard one single fucking comic who went over there say, you know what I'm going to do with this check? I'm going to donate this blood money to the people who responded that day and are suffering. Why would we do that? As the season changes to colder weather, it turns out that your blood pressure tends to spike due to the narrowing of blood vessels. And that makes a lot of sense. Also, your salt cravings go up, and then you've got, you know, less by nature physical activity. But here is the good news. You do have the power to take control of all of that with 120 Life. 120 Life is a blend of great tasting superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure naturally. It is trusted by over 1,000 health professionals and used by people just like you who have seen real measurable results. You can try it yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial. Just go to 120life.com and use code NERVE. That's NERV to save 15% off. You can track your progress with a simple blood pressure monitor, watch your numbers drop, and feel the difference. Plus, it's completely risk-free. If you don't see lower numbers in 2 weeks, you get your money back. So you have nothing to lose except high blood pressure. So go to 120life.com. That is 120life.com. And remember to use code NERVE to save 15%. This is serious. This is your life we're talking about, and 120 Life can help. So don't wait. Take control of your health today.